Take a good long look, Major, because you'll be attacking that harbor at dawn. The Soviets are baby steps away from developing sea-to-ground missiles. Once those missile subs are underway, we risk losing naval superiority. I can't tell you how PO'd that'll make a lot of people around here. Your job, Major, is to take out those Soviet sub-pens, research centers, anything that'll keep those missiles from getting off the ground. Baby steps, Major. Think baby steps.
Welcome back, Commander. It seems that Stavros didn't take General Carville's message too well last time, and we were assigned a particularly dangerous mission. We'll get to see just how dangerous this one is. It might seem weird for me to sell that building, but the briefing mentioned that the nearby civilians are quote-unquote sympathetic to the Russians, or Soviets. And this is kind of why. If you remember a long time ago in Tiberian Dawn, there was that mission with the nod, where civilians could walk up and discover you. I believe it's possible to stop the civilians from doing so, but unfortunately that wasn't the case for this time. Oddly enough, they also authorize eliminating the civilians, which, I mean, it's kind of in sync with what I do, but an odd move for the Allies.
Construction complete. Reconstruction options. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledge, yes, sir.
There's sort of a weird timeline going on with my recordings. Just, I guess, for more full disclosure, that eventually you'll hear in a future episode. I recorded Counter-Strike, then the map level, then the ants, and now Aftermath. So, if there's a couple things that might seem out of place in the map video, that's why. While Aftermath has the distinction of just having more official units, we'll say, Counter-Strike had at least like some interesting levels. And don't get me wrong, this isn't to say that Aftermath doesn't have those. This one I don't feel is like too great on that front. It's kind of telling when I'm here, like, fast forwarding, and I'll probably have to do that, like, I think I do twice more in this video, maybe one more time. But to have to speed up just kind of gives you an idea as to how things go a little slower here. Oh, and for whatever reason, the distance for those dogs to attack the spy is like greater than their guard area or something. So the spy is safe there for now anyways. That might change, but we'll see.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Waiting order. Affirmative.
Building. Training. Construction complete. Building.
Yes, sir. Agreed.
There's another issue as to why this mission kinda drags on a little bit. And hopefully it's kinda obvious to the viewer. One, you don't really start with a lot of funds, which it's kind of a weird thing that the developers sometimes take note of and other times don't.
Yes, sir.
The levels are just greatly enhanced when you have just that much more leeway in building your forces.
Unit lost.
Especially when the AI always starts on a substantial foothold in that realm. In any case, here's kind of the
Building.
compounded factor of not having advanced funds, or a lot of funds, is that you're just stuck scrounging as much as possible
Lost.
in order to, one, defend your base, but, just getting your tech level to an acceptable level.
Building.
Oh, I guess I lost the spy at some point. It was weird, because it seems that the dogs shouldn't have, or maybe it's just like an eventuality thing. Either way, the Soviets actually get like a lot of dogs, so it's a little hard to scout bases. We get 2 new units here, and amazingly, we get the thief right away. I almost feel like that was like an error, considering how far removed the thief was from the missions in the actual campaign. Come to think of it, even the Counter-Strike stuff, I don't recall having too many thieves. So, I would imagine that you would agree, dear viewer, the demo truck is probably the biggest game changer that is available to the player. And amazingly, you get it in the first mission. It's almost like there's an error somewhere. Like they accidentally left it in. Oh, and there's also a mechanic. So, the AI is kind of scripted to just like go after your big targets, in the sense that it'll go after your chronosphere a lot. If the chronosphere is not around, it usually goes for the construction yard and refinery, as seen with the amount of times that they've just paradropped units there. I'm not entirely sure why they have 3 mammoth tanks just sitting there at the ground bridge or whatever. I don't know. But hey, if they're not going to come attack me, I'll certainly take it. I won't oblige. So the demo truck is rather straightforward. It's a demo truck, it explodes. And we've already seen the nuke a couple times, and the paradrops more so. It's particularly annoying when the AI constantly targets an expensive building like the chronosphere, because that's at least like 2,500 or so credits just gone. Getting back to the new units, however, the demo truck again is self-explanatory in its purpose. It's very expensive to construct, as befits something of such immense power, and is very fragile. Thankfully, it can outrun flame towers, but it still takes a nice amount of damage, even from a near miss. So, always be careful with them. Another thing to keep in mind is that the chronosphere sounds like a very easy way to, say, deposit a nuke somewhere. However, there is a problem. And that is, well, to put it plainly, nukes are unstable when it comes to the chronosphere, to the point of just exploding. So, don't do it. It's a very nasty surprise for first-time players. You know, you go in thinking, I can easily finish this mission or cripple the AI's economy, etc. And next thing you know, your base has lost about half of its useful structures. Another new unit is the Chronotank. As you can imagine, it's the Chronosphere, but in a tank. We'll get to see more of it, well, definitely more of it in the missions. But to put it plainly, it requires a charge-up time, similar to the Chronosphere itself, is not so heavily armored, and uses a dual rocket attack system.
Yes, sir. Indeed.
It's not particularly fast either, which
King and country.
makes it best for either suicide runs or just hit and run tactics. You can easily just drive them into a location, have them attack something, and then teleport out. And at the same time, you could always choose to teleport them into a relatively undefended location, or maybe just somewhere that the AI doesn't send any units at. And next thing you give them a moment to rebuild their charge, and then teleport out if they ever have or run into any trouble.
Commander.
The missiles are similar to the Mammoth tanks, so kind of gives you a base level as to their damage and potential. I was hoping I could get cruisers, because then I just build into the lake in the middle, and then, progress from there. Unfortunately, it's not meant to be.
Building.
Yes, sir.
I forget specifically what the Chronotank's recharge time is on its ability,
Yes, sir.
but it's safe to say that it's not an immensely long procedure.
Unit ready. Building.
I'd hazard a guess at somewhere around 4 to 5 minutes. That seems a little high, though. I'm sure by the time we get to another level with a Chronotank, I'll have at least tried to look into the times that it takes.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir.
The third new unit that I can spot, at least easily, is the Mechanic. If you know what a medic does, the Mechanic is basically the same, except for vehicles. It's a little strange that the Allies get all the self-repair stuff. Or, not self-repair, but the, supporting characters. You'd probably assume that the Mechanic would be better suited for the Soviets.
Construction complete. Unit ready. Building.
It seems a little unfair.
Yes, sir.
The Soviets get kind of the short end of the stick, whereas the Allies,
Awaiting order.
as long as you keep your units healthy or, prevent them from dying, then you can kind of recycle the same army you have all the time. Or forever, I should say.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, affirmative.
Oh, and these mammoth tanks are being weird. I really don't get why they're just stuck.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Well, in any case, I'll take advantage of it.
Unit ready.
So, getting back to the whole Mechanic thing, it just seems weird to me that the Soviets never get a repair, not an efficient one anyways. Anybody can build service depots, but the fact that they require a nice investment in, they're not mobile, so they always have to, like, any of your units have to go back to your base. They're slow to begin with, which compounds that fact, and they can only ever repair one at a time, which is the same for a medic or a mechanic. However, both of those units repair relatively quickly.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
The fact that if anything were to happen to your, anything, you're kind of just stuck. You either send a mammoth tank back home, or you have it commit suicide.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
I'm sorry, tries to be useful in a different fashion.
Be acknowledged. Yes, affirmative. Awaiting knowledge. Yes, affirmative.
Silence needed. Unit
Yes, sir.
lost.
And again, that's why a chronosphere is just a very poor
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
decision.
Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Just don't build it. It's not even really worth it in this level.
Affirmative.
Silence needed. Silence needed. Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting.
Construction complete.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Yes, sir.
lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
It'd be kind of funny if you could somehow steal an iron curtain, because that would work on a demo truck. Although I forget if the interaction prevents it from actually killing itself,
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
but maybe I'm wrong. Regardless, a demo truck and iron curtain,
Ready.
even if it doesn't allow it to kill itself, as soon as the timer runs out on the ability, you've got a free nuke wherever you want it.
Reporting.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
I'm not quite sure if these were available for multiplayer,
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
mainly because I rarely ever touched multiplayer in the regular game, and I'll be damned if I played it in the expansions.
Acknowledged.
But it'd be interesting to see if those units specifically were available.
Building. Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
I imagine the first person or two that had to go up against it was probably rather shocked.
Yes, sir.
One moment you're not quite sure what's advancing on your base, and that dog's glitched out, I think it's dead.
Waiting orders.
And the next moment,
Lost.
you've got a demo truck that's invincible, and if you try to teleport it away, you just exacerbate the issue.
Commander. Indeed. Yes, sir. Waiting orders. Vehicle reporting.
Building.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unit
Yes,
ready.
sir.
Unit
Yes,
lost.
sir. Affirmative.
Primary building selected. Building.
Yes, sir. Waiting orders. Commander. Vehicle reporting.
And imagine on top of the whole like demo truck thing, I can't build a mobile gap generator. I think it's because I need a gap generator to do that. But regardless, it'd be kind of nuts if you had a demo truck and then you put a mobile gap generator on it, and next thing you know, you have no idea that a nuke's coming towards your base. Sadly, the fact that the AI has two bases does not prevent it from having a third, which is another. It's probably the only gripe I really have with this mission. It's not that it's necessarily bad, it's more or less just because it's rather long for no real reason. After all, we do have demo trucks, so you can kind of mitigate whatever defenses that the AI has. I mean, just see here. As long as something can take the shots from the Tesla coils, you're fine. Yeah, that was me just showing that the spy in a power plant actually displays the power, the current power level. Obviously, if it's green, there's no problem. If it's yellow, there's a small lack of power. And if it's red, then they're probably not going to recover. Unless you let them, of course, but, why would you? And that's why you don't ever chronosphere. All you want to do is shorten the level by, 5-10 minutes. Not sped up, of course. And next thing you know, you've destroyed half your base. So, good job, me. AI is nice enough to sell all the stuff though this time, so that's always a plus. There's going to be one other issue with that though. Yeah, it still has submarines. Like a lot of submarines. It's a good thing they actually like drive towards me, or else it'd be hell trying to corral them all together. Or just chasing them down.
Awaiting orders. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Mission accomplished.